Script P2W Fantasy. I have a live draft here on the Underdog Fantasy app. I had the promo code at the bottom, promo code P2W Fantasy. I'm pretty sure if you make any sort of deposit, you get a deposit matchup up to $100. So throw in $10, you can use 20 for the day. Just trying to get things set up here. I'm pretty sure this draft starts like any second now. I haven't done an Underdog draft in a while. Always a ton of fun. This is the most expensive one I've ever done, and I figured, hey, why not on Friday? Just get after it. I mean, I think the prizes are pretty substantial on this as well. But let's see what pick. 9 picks away, so we're already at the first spot. Almost swiped out of it. I'm at the 10 spot, which I really don't mind because I like getting picks pretty close to one another. But we'll see how the board falls to us. Typically, I do like a $5 draft all the time. So $25, it's a little much there. ADP wise, I feel like it's been changing. I think the training camp's going to make an impact on that. Number 1 off the board, Justin Jefferson. I've kind of been leaning Chase over Jefferson, which is something I didn't think about as much heading into the off season. But long term, dynasty ties to Joe Burrow and redraft. I dropped some stats the other day, and there was a lot of things that popped off for Jamar Chase. Obviously, Justin Jefferson smoked it last year with most categories, but Jamar Chase, I feel like we haven't even seen the best of him yet. And I'm pretty sure it was the percentage of 10-plus target games that stood out for Chase with Joe Burrow, because I think there, is a stigma like, hey, Jefferson doesn't have a Higgins, but at the same time, you can say Jefferson doesn't have a Burrow. But just sharing the stream out. Cooper Kupp, a lot of people forget about how hot he was before the injury last season. Then Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, a lot of wide receivers going off the board. So I feel like at this 10 spot, if Kelsey is there, I think I'd like Kelsey. I dropped some upside stats for each of the positions, and we looked at Travis Kelsey for the percentage of games played with 70-plus receiving yards and the percentage of games played with 7-plus targets, and he was a man amongst boys when it came to both of those categories. I mean, true positional advantage. Outside of that, I'd be debating, Eckler and Bijan. Kelsey goes right there. I feel like I want a stud wide receiver here over a running back. I think I might fade running back. Let's see. Eckler goes there, so I could go Bijan, CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson. Those two guys are intriguing. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown could have a big season, especially without Jameson Williams for those first 6 weeks. Jonathan Taylor is intriguing there too. I'm going to go with CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb, each of the last 3 seasons, has progressed in pretty much all the statistics that you would want a wide receiver to progress in. So I think, what is year 3? If we're talking dynasty, CeeDee Lamb for most people, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. For redraft, I think we get caught up in some of these other names and forget about how he looked last season in those, 12 games Dak played. So I'm on the fence here. I really like Jonathan Taylor. I like Nick Chubb. I like Saquon. I like all 3 of those running backs. I feel like if I go into this, though, stacking 2 really, really solid wide receivers, I'll feel pretty good about my team. You can see it off to the right there. I got CeeDee Lamb. I'm going to go Amon-Ra St. Brown, which might be a little spicy over Devontae Adams. I think Devontae Adams showed us last season that he's almost QB-proof just because he was balling out with Derek Carr. Not that, Derek Carr is a bum or anything, but it's obviously a different quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think, is just going to demand, just like Devontae Adams, a very, very high target share. And I think similar to what I said before about Jamar Chase, I don't know if we've seen the best of Amon-Ra St. Brown yet. So could have been Adams right there. Maybe that's something I'll debate on later. It could have been Jonathan Taylor, who I think could finish as the running back 1. I got that stack. CeeDee Lamb on Amon-Ra St. Brown. Adams went directly after. So I mean, I think that's the two I was juggling. I think it's nice to have a good core wide receivers here for the early on in these sort of drafts. I feel like the running back values, like just scrolling down the list here. I mean, Dalvin Cook's all the way down there. I think he's going to land somewhere. He's going to touch the ball plenty. Plenty. James Conner. I feel like Arizona's. I think we're back. I think we're back. Let's see. Oh God. I think we're back. I think we're back. Maybe we're just delayed now. Maybe we're just delayed now. I feel like my internet's been so shitty lately. I don't know why. Don't know why. It's either that or it's my computer. Hopefully we have the stream back up. I think we're back up and running. If that happens again, I'll probably have to exit. But see where we're at. I was talking about running back values, and as soon as I talked about running back values, you got completely kicked off the stream. We're good though. We're good. Calvin Ridley just went. I think Calvin Ridley's got the upside to be a top 12 guy this year. There's been debates on him or Christian Kirk, and I think it's silly in all honesty. And I could be wrong about that, and I can, be bold about what I'll say about that, and take it back later and be accountable for it. But I just truly think that there's a big difference in talent between the two guys, just in all complete honesty. Calvin Ridley's shown us something Christian Kirk has never shown us. Having that massive season, 143 targets, and what was it, like 1,300 receiving yards. He's had a double-digit touchdown season. Trevor Lawrence looked great last year. I'm really all in. So we got some good quarterbacks here. I think it's a bit early because I think if I scroll down the list, there's guys I'm comfortable taking. Maybe I stack like a Dak later. Tight end position 2, I think I'm going to. But when I look at the wide receiver groups, I feel like I don't need to necessarily completely jump on somebody. Running backs, maybe I grab somebody I feel like is a solidified top 10 back. ETN, Najee, those are two guys that really stand out here. Aaron Jones slept on. Breece Hall went. I know a lot of people are super optimistic about Breece Hall and recovering from his injury. I'm slightly hesitant. TJ Hawkinson's really nice there. I feel like I can really lock that in. I think Addison's going to come in and get plenty of targets, but I don't think it's going to wipe out him. Let's go. I'm going to go Najee Harris here. I'm going to go Najee Harris. I believe in the Najee bounce back. I think that he wasn't super healthy last season for a good chunk of it with that foot injury. I think after the bye week, his numbers started getting back to normal. I think that if the Pittsburgh offense takes a step in the right direction, that's going to benefit Najee Harris. I think it's going to benefit Deontay Johnson. So a lot's kind of riding on Kenny Pickett, I think. Not to say he was like horrible as a rookie, but I don't think he did anything super special to give us like this big optimism that, Pittsburgh's some, big playoff push team now. I don't know. Lamar Jackson just went quarterback-wise. Joe Burrow and Justin Fields. I think if somebody took one of those two guys, maybe I'd consider jumping on one of them, but I feel like I can wait. I can grab Deshaun Watson later on. Gibbs just went. ETN, Mixon, Aaron Jones, J.K. Dobbins. I like Dobbins a lot. Do I grab another wide receiver here? You know what? I'm going to stay on brand, and everybody gives me shit about this all the time, but massive Jerry Jeudy truther. And I think that he is going to have a big-time season with Sean Payton leading that offense and Russell Wilson having to come back. Russell Wilson had his worst season in his completion percentage, his fantasy points per game. I think his worst season fantasy points per game. But I think Russell Wilson gets back into at least somewhat close of the Russell Wilson we've seen in the past. I think Sean Payton has dealt with guys like Michael Thomas and Brandon Cooks and Colson in the past, and I think that's huge for Jerry Jeudy. So his ADP is 41. I took him at 39, so I guess a little early. I thought it'd be a little bit more early than what I took him at, but I'm all right with that. Keenan Allen was a guy that I was really debating, just because I feel like Keenan Allen, looking at the numbers Keenan Allen had when he came back from that injury, he was the Keenan Allen that we have seen in the past. I can't tell if like the stream is messed up, if it's messed up on Twitter. I think I'm still. Burrow just went. Maybe I think about Justin Fields would be nice. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is nice. Deshaun Watson's nice. Daniel Jones all the way down there is nice. That's why I feel like I don't really need to jump on a quarterback this early. I feel like, maybe they bring something a little bit less than the upside of Justin Fields does. But Mike Williams at the top there, who just went pretty interesting, pretty polarizing. Because I think a lot of people forget about what he looked like when he was actually on the field. And I think a lot of people are very focused on Quentin Johnston. Dobbins, a lot of faith in Dobbins. I think a full season now away from that injury. We saw the big rushing days he had. I thought that was very impressive, but we knew that he wasn't 100% healthy when it came to some of those games. I mean, everybody references the one where he had that huge breakaway and it looked like he was like limping or something in that. Aaron Jones, another guy people are sleeping on for sure. Had career highs last season and does nothing but produce for fantasy. We used to fear like A.J. Dillon taking over, and it doesn't really look like that's the case. Got interesting guys here. I mean, I really like JSN, even in redraft. Ayuk's a guy that I used to fade, and now I'm kind of coming around to him. We can go Pitts here. I kind of like Waller, though, this season. Lawrence, Watson, Tua, Dak, Daniel Jones. I feel like we can wait on quarterback at this point and maybe double stack in 2 rounds. Running back, I do like Miles Sanders, Kenneth Walker, Ayuk. This is tough, man. I'm gonna go with Pitts. And I'm surprised you would agree that I smashed on that, because again, I really like Waller this year. I like Pat Freiermuth. Maybe Chig has some bigger days. Dalton Schultz, I think, could be the number 1 target there. But I think if we're looking for upside in the tight end, I think all of the guys available, Pitts just screams at receiving yard upside. If Ritter is throwing the ball at the rate that he was in 2 of his starts, 2 out of 4 of Ritter's starts, he had 30-plus passing attempts. That was nice to see that volume. He connected well with Drake London. I just didn't feel like I had to smash anybody else right there. Maybe I grab a running back here. I mean, Ayuk and JSN are very appealing. And then it starts getting a little thinner. Marquise Brown to a degree. You know what? I really am into Miles Sanders with the potential volume he's going to see in Carolina. Forget the exact numbers, but Deonta Foreman plus Christian McCaffrey, their rushing total, I think, equaled like 289 vacated carries, and he doesn't have good competition. The offense is what is going to be an indicator, I think, of how high Miles Sanders' ceiling is, because if they're not in scoring positions often with Bryce Young and the okay wide receiver room they have, then maybe he's limited on his touchdown upside. But Miles Sanders ran the ball great last year. I know it was the Eagles offense that went to the Super Bowl, so obviously a different offense in comparison to where he's at in Carolina. But I think when we look at the two guys I have rostered right here for this best ball, Najee Harris, Miles Sanders, I really like the volume that both guys should see. So then I think I can fade running back for a while. I got my upside tight end. I got my 3 wide receivers. So I feel okay right now. I kind of wish I had one more like stellar wide receiver to be confident about. So maybe back then I should have taken like a JSN. Who I do think is going to see a high target share. I do, even with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. I think he's that talented. And I think that was like a turnoff for some people. I like Gibbs. I like Jahmyr Gibbs a lot, but in rookie drafts, I think I still would prefer Jackson Smith and Jigba over Jahmyr Gibbs. And, we're talking, they talk Jahmyr Gibbs' draft capital. He's still going to have to coexist with David Montgomery, who's not like a bum by any means. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 2 good wide receivers on his team, 2 very good ones. Geno Smith had his career season, but I think talent is talent at the end of the day, and I think talented players find ways to touch the football. Tony, Madison. I think Madison could be good, but I think he's starting to be somewhat of a trap, because I feel like people are assuming that he does what Dalvin Cook did in that offense. I think people look, and I've been one of the people out there that says like, hey, like look at the Madison splits when he gets to work. But I think sometimes we have to be careful with extrapolating like small windows of data sometimes, or games. Like, yeah, Madison was good, but it's going to be a 16, 17 game sample size now versus like 3, because it wasn't like he was so good that he was demanding all these touches or anything like that. But what's funny on Twitter, just like a complete random side note, the amount of bots in the DMs all the time. You get like these chicks from like different countries that are like, oh, you've qualified for this, or like, I'm looking for this. All the time. It's like the same like sort of messages all the time. Gabriel Davis, not a fan. Dallas Goedert, great tight end. Struggle with the target share potential sometimes. I feel like the emergence of Devonta Smith last season, people haven't really talked about it enough, man. Devonta Smith was very good last season, and A.J. Brown is one of the most explosive wide receivers in the league. So you got those two guys. Don't sleep on DeAndre Swift getting involved with some work too. I might go Deshaun Watson if he's there, and he is there. I think Deshaun Watson is a quarterback that, we've seen so many times in his past be a top 5 quarterback in fantasy points per game. I think that this offense around him is actually a lot better than people are crediting it for. Nick Chubb, one of the best backs in the league. Amari Cooper had a great season last year. I still am a believer in Elijah Moore. Donovan Peoples-Jones himself could be a field stretcher. David Njoku, one of the most athletic tight ends in the league. Deshaun Watson has a good offense. And Deshaun Watson, regardless if you like him or not, has been a top 5 fantasy quarterback in the past. So looking at the team here, Deshaun Watson at quarterback, Najee and Miles, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, Jerry Jeudy, and Kyle Pitts. So I think we try to get a wide receiver here. But it's getting to the point where like nobody's really jumping out. I probably should have chilled on tight end, in all honesty. Running back, I wouldn't mind James Conner. I mean, six weeks of healthy James Conner can be beneficial in this format. Like Bateman and Zay Flowers, they're going back to back right here. I mean, I guess you can take your pick. I'd probably pick Zay right now. Man, I think I'm gonna wait. Let's go. This wide receiver room is gross, though. I'm gonna go with the rookie. Get the rookie involved. High draft capital. I think Bateman might be a little bit banged up right now. I think Zay is somebody they can use creatively. I know it's a different offensive coordinator, but we've seen the Ravens offense still John Harbaugh. Or it's still Harbaugh at the end of the day. As the head coach. We've seen them last year, or we saw them last year, use Devin Duvernay in creative ways. Can they use Zay Flowers creatively? A lot of people were getting super high on Zay Flowers following the draft too, or leading up to the draft. I think some people had Zay Flowers as their wide receiver 2 coming out of this draft class before the draft happened. And I think I'll still have him behind JSN, Addison, Quentin Johnston. I think he'd be that fourth guy. But I do think that he could surprise a lot of us and end up being the second best guy, maybe. James Conner, when I do like Conner this year, I think Arizona's going to suck. I think that he's going to get tons of work. And I forgot the exact number, but I looked at all the games that he played over 50% of the snaps in Arizona the last 2 seasons. He was averaging like 19 fantasy points, something crazy per game. So James Conner is a guy that I think will be a zero RB target for people that go and do that route. I would like Antonio Gibson if he follows us. That's a huge target of mine this season. I think, again, we're trying to correlate everything, but we saw what happened with Jerick McKinnon and Eric Bieniemy last year. I mean, maybe it's not completely Eric Bieniemy who needs to be credited with it, but I will say that seeing McKinnon in that Chiefs offense get the passing work, and Antonio Gibson had 46 catches last year. I don't have any stats in front of me for this. 46 catches last year. He's the playmaker in that running backfield. I think Brian Robinson's a guy that they're just like, all right, give us 2 yards, give us 3 yards, give us 1 yard, maybe give us 5, But I think Antonio Gibson's the most talented running back in that backfield, and I'll reach on him at this point because I don't need to jump on Tyler Boyd or Zay Jones or Sky Moore at all on this. I think we'll get into the rookie area at some point in this draft because I don't think ADP is caught up quite yet. Tight end, do we get another athletic tight end? Do we get a Pat Freiermuth? I really wish I waited on tight end because, I mean, we're already in what round? The 8th, or we're in the 9th round, and I could get Freiermuth or Njoku. I think that's something I take away from this. I think Kyle Pitts is an amazing talent, but I think draft strategy wise, probably can wait and redraft. I like Pat Freiermuth a lot this year. I think, I looked at some upside metrics and he checked some boxes, Pat. I think he upped his receiving. I think he upped his, ADOT. I think that his target share was fairly good. I think Pat Freiermuth is going to be a target of mine in most redrafts. Probably in Dynasty. I mean, in Dynasty too. He's from the same draft class as Kyle Pitts. So I'm up in a couple picks. I'm looking at Antonio Gibson. I want Antonio Gibson. He's a guy I kind of liked in the past, and then I was kind of out on a little bit. Didn't really like how they were, giving Brian Robinson all that work, even though he was more efficient with his touches for fantasy. So I would like him. I mean, Jacoby Myers went. He was good in New England. What's he going to look like? What's he going to look like next to Devonta Adams with Jimmy Garoppolo? Darren Waller leaving, I think, was a boost for Jacoby Myers just in terms of target share. We're hoping we can get Gibson here. P. Ryan over Gibson. I will take Antonio Gibson. I'm happy the stream didn't cut out. It only took 3 tries. Got kicked off twice, but we're good to go. Really like that pick. So now we got Najee, Miles, and Antonio Gibson. on top of Watson at quarterback, Lamb, Amon-Ra, Jerry Jeudy, Zay Flowers. So I don't mind this draft, and Kyle Pitts too. I still think scrolling down like Jaden Reed, Jalen Hyatt, the rookies are going to be down this draft board, so I'm not super worried about the tight end room. I might go and grab Freiermuth if he's still there after this pick. I might just do that because I really like Pat Freiermuth. I think you can argue he's top 5 in Dynasty and in redraft. And there he fucking goes. Somebody's listening to this stream. Kincaid, do I jump on the rookie fever right there? Nah, because you know what? Laporta's down there. Gesicki's down there. Let's go with let's get our second quarterback. Didn't even look at the bye weeks. 5 and 13. I'm gonna go with Daniel Jones, who had a big year 1 with Brian Dable. He was impressive, man. And now he gets Darren Waller. And the wide receiver room had additions, nothing super sexy. I mean, they added Jalen Hyatt, they added Paris Campbell, and then they added Darren Waller, who I think is going to be Daniel Jones' number 1 target. But his rushing upside was very evident last year. So maybe I didn't need to take a quarterback there because I have Deshaun Watson, but I think I'm pretty good there. I won't draft another quarterback the rest of this draft. How do you see the board on this thing? That's all right. We don't need to look at it. All right. Decent amount of picks left. It gives me my projections already. Interesting. I think I need to go wide receiver heavy here. We'll see, though. Not a bad team, though. I like this team. Watson, Jones, Najee, Sanders, Gibson, Lamb, Amon-Ra, Jerry Jeudy, Zay Flowers, Kyle Pitts. I'm digging this. I think we can probably grab, just not even looking at any ADP right now, I think we can grab some rookie wide receivers. I think we can grab, for the hell of it, at some point, like Zeke and Leonard Fournette, maybe. They're gonna land somewhere and touch the football. And people can say they're old and washed, but they're gonna land somewhere and touch the football. Tight end, I wouldn't mind. I mean, Schultz is interesting to me just because I think he, similar to Waller, like I just said, could be the number 1 target. For CJ Stroud, I think the wide receiver room in Houston is pretty questionable. I think we can wait for Sam Laporta, who I think is going to get some early volume with Jameson Williams out of the mix. I think Mike Gesicki is a sleeper this year just because, again, weaker wide receiver room. It's Juju and then a bunch of guys. I really like Trey McBride in Dynasty. I'm not sure, not Gesicki, Ertz. I'm not sure what the actual timeline is of that. I feel like I'm not up for a while. I'm doing this while I'm doing another Dynasty startup. The other Dynasty startup, I just traded like the 201 and a 4th for like the 104 and like a 10th. Thought that was a pretty decent trade right there. I think people were commenting on it. I just dipped out of there. I think I'm done doing startups after this. I had 2 subscriber startups, and then I'm doing one with buddies. All right, so Chig, a lot of people are really hyping up Chig. I mean, could he be the number 2 target there? We're not sure. I thought for sure that Tennessee was going to add another wide receiver. My take was that they were going to draft a JSN. Jameson Williams, got to have some patience there, but it could pay off at some point. We're good at quarterback, so Mila, you're okay. You're okay. Oh, my daughter's on the monitor. Can I show the screen this? Oh, I'm up. Hold on. Mingo, Raji Rice, Nico Collins. This is where we're getting gross here. Running backs. I don't need to jump on anybody there. Let's go with Kincaid, the rookie. How about that? Let's go with the rookie fever and go Dalton Kincaid. Could he get the volume that we want from Josh Allen? I got my baby monitor right here, and my fiance just grabbed Mila, who I think is good to go now. Buy a new computer. Am I fuzzy or what? These guys are talking smack. Let's see. Wide receiver, so a bunch of question marks. We don't know what kind of. You know what? I'm gonna reach. I'm gonna reach here, and I don't care because I think Chark's gonna be the wide receiver one in Carolina. Maybe that's a shitty take, but when we're looking for upside, receiving yard upside, a guy who's had a big season, 1,000 yard season under his belt, it's Chark. Some people love Mingo. Some people are completely fading him. He has the draft capital. He's got some nice size to him and stuff like that. But I do like DJ Chark's opportunity in Carolina. For sure, I didn't get kicked out of another stream, so that's good. That's good. All right. Where's the recap at? So we double stacked tight end. I think we're good at quarterback and tight end. I don't think we need more than two. I mean, maybe you can argue with like Pitts and Kincaid. Maybe one safer guy first, a little bit of a boost wouldn't hurt just in case Pitts is not getting the volume we want, just in case Kincaid's the same. Somebody told me the other day that they thought that Dawson Knox is still going to out-target Kincaid, and I don't think Dawson Knox has ever been a guy that has consistently earned targets. But it doesn't mean that just because his draft capital is where it was that he's going to get, the Mark Andrews treatment or something like that. But I do want to keep stacking some wide receivers here because I think two quarterbacks, two tight ends is good. I'm eyeing guys like Zeke. I'm eyeing guys like Fournette again because once it happens and they land somewhere, it's going to change their ADP. It's going to change their opportunity. So I'm eyeing those guys. So I might go wide receiver, running back here. But no one's really biting on some of these guys. I thought Raji Rice would be taken off the board a little bit sooner. MVS, like above guys like Jaden Reed, John Mechie, Wando Robinson. It was so unfortunate that the game he was actually popping off for in fantasy that he tore his ACL. I don't know his timeline. So, maybe with the injuries, I need to have somebody on the podcast sometime that actually looks into this stuff a bit more than I do. But Roschon Johnson, I really like that pick in Chicago. I think that Roschon being behind Bijan Robinson is much different than Deonta Foreman and Khalil Herbert, but it doesn't mean that he is ready to be, a workhorse or starting running back in the NFL. So we got to be careful with those takes. But it is a fact. It's different competition, but still, I love that signing for Chicago though because I think Foreman has done great things the last two seasons in both Carolina and Tennessee when given the opportunity, but he's not your long-term guy. I think Khalil Herbert is overhyped. I think he's overhyped. I think he's very efficient. I just don't think he's a starting running back. I just don't. I say this as a Bears fan, and I'm not saying this because some guy came on, one of my tweets today, just like I'm a Chargers fan, and I know more than you because I'm a Chargers fan for a take that I had. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you would think that as a fan of a team, I'd be a fan of a player more. It's just not the case when it comes to Khalil Herbert. In all honesty, I think he's a good compliment. I think he's like a 40% back, a 30% back. I just don't think he's the guy. I wish I can see the draft board because I don't know how many picks we got left. I feel like we got a decent amount of picks left. I mean, do I double stack the veteran Carolina wide receivers? Where did Jaden Reed go? Jaden Reed went back here. Jaden Reed's my guy this year. It's from Naperville, Illinois. That's like right next to where I'm from. I'm from Plainfield, Illinois. Naperville borders Plainfield, Illinois. So I have some bias because of that. I'm on the board. I got Daniel Jones, and I think a lot of people don't like this guy, but I think he is an extremely fast downfield threat, similar to Slayton. I think I'm going to grab Hyatt here. I mean, he was the Blitnikoff, is that how you say it, winner this past season. He had a great season for Tennessee. Cedric Tillman, obviously, has battled some injuries and stuff, but I think I'm just looking, you got to have a different hat on when it comes to best ball. Once you're getting to the later rounds, can you take looking at the wide receiver room, can you take a Robert Woods, who I think could step in and have some decent targets in Houston, but he doesn't have the big play upside that maybe some of these younger guys do. I think I'm going to bite on Zeke here. I think I'm going to try to get Zeke and Fournette. I think that's going to be my draft strategy in these early drafts is to grab Zeke and Fournette. Rashid Shaheed showed us a lot last year. Michael Thomas, not super healthy all the time. Let's go with Zeke. What do I like about Zeke? Exactly what I see in front of me right here. Double-digit touchdowns 2 seasons in a row. Obviously, it's with the Dallas Cowboys, probably different than whatever team he's going to land on, but I think that's going to be his upside, and that's going to translate to best ball in some sort of sense. If he's having a shit game and he's not getting the work we want, then I'm hoping Najee Miles and Antonio Gibson are having okay games. If he scores a touchdown, he's got like 8 carries and a touchdown in a game wherever he lands, and 2 catches, maybe it's worthwhile. I just think that he's shown us throughout his career that he has a nose for the end zone. Will he ever be 1,000-yard receiving run? Will he ever be 1,000-yard rushing running back again? Probably not. But could he score some fucking touchdowns? Probably. So that's been my thing in these drafts is trying to grab Zeke and Fournette because I think at least one of them will be very fantasy relevant, and their ADP is horrible right now because of I don't know how many picks we got left. Might have to cut the stream short. All right, there we are. Laporta went. I do like Laporta. I was surprised that he went above Michael Mayer. I thought Michael Mayer was the most all-around tight end in this class when we're looking at a guy that can make plays with his hands, a guy that can pass block, run block, a guy that could be a touchdown threat. I thought Mayer was the most well-rounded tight end of this draft class. I thought Mayer should have won in the first round. And Irv Smith's a quiet winner because I thought Mayer should have went to the Bengals in the first round at the end. I really thought that. Let's see what we got here. Running backs. I think we're going to go wide receiver. We'll go with quarterbacks. We're not touching any of the quarterbacks. Tight end would be maybe at the end we grab. No one's really standing out. I mean, Juwan Johnson scored a lot of, 7 touchdowns last year or something like that. He had some touchdown upside to him. Mike Gesicki, I think, is a big-time sleeper this year. He's just shown us before in Miami that he could be a receiving tight end, and that's why Bill Belichick likes him now and has liked him in the past because of being a receiving tight end. I just don't think he had a good role anymore in Miami when you got 2 of the best wide receivers in the league, and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I think those are 2 extremely explosive, talented wide receivers that were going to demand a very specific target share. And Gesicki, I think, was just on the outs there. I don't think it matters who their tight end is. I think they need a guy that's going to block. I think that they're going to utilize a committee back approach, and I think it's going to be Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle doing most of the work through the air, with little sprinkles of whoever else is involved at the time. Huh. A lot of people have been hyping up Tim Patrick. I don't understand. I mean, he's had good games situationally in the past. Situationally. Running backs. Foreman was a dog. Look, 914 rushing yards in 2022. Foreman was a dog last year. I forgot. He had a high percentage of games of 100-plus rushing yards. But again, what's it going to look like in Chicago? Is it a true committee? Do they ride the hot hand? We're not sure. We're going to go wide receiver, and we're going to go with somebody that I like. I'm just not as high on as other people. I think there's a chance he's the third option, but a lot of people like Josh Downs. I just read he's dealing with a minor knee injury. Wish I could click on that. But a lot of people like Josh Downs. Are they going to throw the ball at the rate that we want? Probably not. Probably not with Anthony Richardson. But if he does carve out a substantial role in this offense, I think Josh Downs is going to be a very interesting player for this sort of format where, best ball, we don't have to depend on him to perform for us weekly. But if he has some of those bigger games second half of the season, then I think it'll pay off for us. Somebody grab fucking Fournette. Oh, right there. Wow. I've been saying Fournette this whole time. Like, Fournette's a guy we got to grab. Fournette's a guy we got to grab. I kept saying it. Got 4 running backs, 7 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. I mean, I was talking about Gesicki too. Do I go with Gesicki? Wide receiver wise, maybe I'll just keep eating the rookie fever. This might be my last wide receiver pick. I'll just finish with 8. Let's go with Hope and Tank Dell. All these clips of him and CJ Stroud talking about each other. I mean, his numbers, Tank Dell, the last 2 seasons in college were great. He's coming off of a huge receiving season. So could he give us 3 good games to make it worth our while in this format? Maybe, but I think at this point we're noticing rookies hanging out lower in the ADP. I mean, Josh Downs' ADP is 194. I took him at 178. Tank Dell, 206. I took him at 183. I'm taking these guys early, but I think that as we get closer to the season, that these guys, their ADP picks up just a little bit. We're about like 40, almost 44 minutes in. I think at this point of the draft, I'm just going to finish it probably on my phone, call it a day. But if you did tune in, appreciate you guys for checking it out. Tons of stuff on the Twitter feed. If you want to go check out what I've been pushing out this week, I had a really nice thread with some upside metrics that I released this morning. Go check that out. And of course, go check out the Patreon. The link is in the bio. Shit ton of content all in one spot. Daily discussions as well, worth your $1 if you do indeed play to win. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.